Part 193. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1926. However, the situation in front of him was so pressing that Zuyun had no time to explore the chaos in the Liuli immortal realm or try to communicate with Chaos Lotus. We need to deal with these nightmares as soon as possible. There is no holy demon star behind him, but that doesn't mean Zuyun can ignore it. His goal is the entire chaotic star sea. The appearance of so many nightmares at this time can completely reduce the hidden dangers that may be encountered in the future, and just catch them all in one fell swoop. Snort. Zuyun snorted coldly, and his whole body was filled with the power of the laws of time and space. But this time, the power of the laws of time and space turned completely into gray light. Exactly the same as Chaos Immortal power. In addition, he uses Chaos Immortal power to control the envoys. If anyone else is here, they will not be able to see what Zuyun did. Because he finally completely integrated the law of time and the law of space into one, becoming the law of chaos. Chaos Forbidden Zone. Zuyun spit out 4 words. Suddenly, the ring space-time restricted area that originally surrounded him was suddenly stained with a layer of gray color. In the dark void, this gray-white ring is particularly conspicuous. Compared with the previous time and space restricted area, the chaotic restricted area has produced a kind of suction. It no longer allows these nightmares to rush over and then fall into it like before. Instead, the Chaos Forbidden Zone will actively suck in nearby nightmares. In fact, the Chaos Forbidden Zone seems to coincide with the immortal way of the Tongtian immortal realm. After Zuyun exerts it, he no longer needs to instill Chaos Immortal power into it to maintain it. This was something Zuyun did not expect. But I have to say, this is the best news. He is no longer subject to the lack of immortal power. In this case, Zuyun frowned and looked into the distance. Chaos Forbidden Zone. He didn't want to wait for those nightmare demons to continue to rush around, but used it directly in the nightmare demon group. A gray-white ring suddenly appeared. The nightmares in the surrounding circle were suddenly cut in half by the ring and then sucked in. At the same time, the other nightmares cannot escape this extreme suction. With such an effect, Zuyun's consumption is almost negligible. Now that he is an immortal lord, he can fully withstand the use of hundreds or thousands of chaos-restricted areas. Facing the endless nightmares, he looked into the distance. There were still nightmares coming towards him in a steady stream. Zuyun showed a contemptuous smile. Once upon a time, he could only run away from such a scene. But now, in this fairy world, no one can stop him. Chaos-restricted area. He used it one after another and laid out hundreds of chaotic restricted areas. The gray-white rings covered the surrounding area, forming star rings. Time passes until all the nightmares are sucked into it. In the distance, there are still nightmares in 2s and 3s, continuing to rush towards here. But they simply can't break through the defense line formed by this chaotic restricted area, let's call it a defense line. Zuyun chuckled and removed all the chaos-restricted areas. Those nightmare demons roared and rushed towards Zuyun. Zuyun ignored it, but thought about it, and the next moment, Mengwei appeared beside him. Zuyun, Mengwei called softly first, and then said happily, "You have indeed broken through to the immortal lord realm. The stronger Zuyun is, the more stable the Liuli immortal world is. This is their escape route." "Yes, you have broken through the immortal lord realm," Zuyun smiled and said, "You used the word Quarren, but what changes have occurred in the Liuli immortal realm?" Of course there is. Since Zuyun asked this, it must be that he was busy before and did not notice the changes in the Liuli immortal world, so he briefly talked about the tremors of several demon stars, and finally mentioned the Chaos Lotus and the Liuli star finally merged into one body and disappeared in the explosion. Has it disappeared? Zuyun then killed several nightmare demons running in front of him, whispered, and then said, Wia, I'll call a few more people out. You guys will kill the nightmare demons here together. I'll go to the side and take a look. Are you looking for Zhu Feng? Meng Wei was stunned for a moment, then asked. Yes, Zhu Feng is gone. He must have run away. He smiled and said, however, the nightmares must have received some instructions. They will rush here without hesitation. It is just right to catch them all at this time. By then, in the entire chaotic star sea, you can also directly collect all the magic stars into the Liuli immortal realm. Well, just leave it to me. Meng Wei nodded. She also knew that there was one thing Zhu Yun didn't say, which was that the demon kings from the holy demon tribe who were out fighting would definitely come back, and she needed to gather them together to avoid any misunderstandings. Zhu Yun touched it lightly, and all the demon kings from the soul-eating demon clan and the three-eyed demon clan suddenly appeared here. After thinking about it, Zhu Yun summoned Wan Potion again. Zhu Yun, what do you want from me? I'm planning to go sword training. Wan Potion was ruined and said angrily. The expression on his face looked like Zhu Yun had called him out just after entering the bridal chamber. Sword refining. Zhu Yun was stunned for a moment, then smiled and said, don't be in a hurry to refine the sword. I met Zhu Feng, and both the Chaos Sword and Wanjian Mountain are in his hands. Real. Wan Potion was immediately overjoyed. After feeling it carefully, he found that there were residual auras of 2 immortal weapons around him. He couldn't help but said with joy, great, then where is Zhu Feng? Zhu Yun shook his head and said, I don't know where it is, so I asked you to come and have a look, and we'll go there together. He can use time and space to reverse, but the space of the universe is too large, and Zhu Yun cannot accurately determine Zhu Feng's position. If time and space are used recklessly, wasting immortal power is a small matter. But he can't wait for the consumption of time. Okay, I'll try to find it. If it is within a certain range, I can roughly determine the direction through the breath of Wanjian Mountain and Chaos Sword. Wan Potion closed his eyes after hearing this, and then the power of law surged out of his body, forming a series of sword chi. This sword chi is not an ordinary sword chi, but is formed by the power of law. Zhu Yun recognized that the sword chi has no attack power, but sword I. Sure enough, Wan Potion suddenly opened his mouth and shouted, Sword I. After the voice fell, these sword chi quickly condensed into one, forming a shape exactly the same as the Chaos Sword. Then, the tip of the sword turned, determined a direction, and rushed out quickly. Zhu Yun, go. Wan Potion stepped into the air, and the sword power also appeared under his feet, chasing closely. Zhu Yun followed closely behind, and by the way, he dealt with some nightmares that he met head-on. Soon, the two ran dozens of miles away, and the sword stopped. Here. Zhu Yun was confused. There was no one here at all, and Immortals could not teleport, let alone Zhu Feng, who was not proficient in the way of space. The breath only went here, and it was gone. Wan Potion also frowned. The Chaos Sword and Wanjian Mountain would not disappear out of thin air unless they were collected by Zhu Feng into the portable space. But Zhu Yun clearly said that he could not find Zhu Feng, so he thought that Zhu Feng was just hiding. Could it be that Zhu Feng fought with the nightmare, and finally, a bad idea came out of Zhu Yun's mind, and he did not hesitate to reach out and use the time and space reversal. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1927. Zhu Yun's face was extremely ugly, he was afraid that Zhu Feng was dead. As the scenes in the long river of time and space regressed one after another, all that could be seen were endless nightmares. Wan Potion is also extremely heavy-handed. For such a talented son and Zhu Yun's younger brother, he naturally doesn't want anything to happen to Zhu Feng. At this moment, it has nothing to do with the Chaos Sword or Wanjian Mountain. Nothing is more important than wishing the wind. Moreover, Through such a crowded group of nightmare demons, we can also know what kind of situation Zhu Feng was facing at that time. Zhu Yun clenched his fists tightly. He already knew why the Dozhuangxing immortal formation he had set up disappeared. It was after he successfully placed the holy demonic star into the glazed immortal realm that the endless nightmares destroyed the immortal formation. And why did Zhu Feng disappear here? Obviously, he was afraid that when he appeared again, he would be in the group of nightmares and would be unable to escape. Zhu Feng is going to sacrifice himself to save Zhu Yun. Zhu Feng, please don't let anything happen to you. Zhu Yun murmured that although he could fish for people in the long river of time and space, just like traveling back in time, if the last location of death could not be determined, it would be very difficult to resurrect him. Even though he is an immortal lord now. Therefore, when Bei Minjiun died, Zhu Yun firmly noted the location because he was afraid that something unexpected would happen. One after another, the nightmares kept retreating. Zhu Yun's fists became tighter and tighter, and even the tips of his nails dug into his fleshy palms, causing blood to flow out without even realizing it. Wan Potion didn't dare to remind him, because he was afraid that Zhu Feng would miss it when Zhu Yun was distracted. All he can do is protect Zhu Yun from the nightmares that are still coming here. Time passes. There was also commotion in the demon world passage. In the black hole that was originally as quiet as an abyss and lifeless, demonic energy suddenly surged. The Dragon King was shocked and said in alarm, "Be careful, there is demonic energy appearing." A high-pitched dragon roar followed, and the Phoenix King was beside him, with blazing flames coming out of his body, lighting up the surroundings. In the surrounding area, countless phoenixes and true dragons exited Bailey one after another. At this time, thunderous sounds came from the passage. Every sound was like a giant beast stepping on solid ground. And as the sound became stronger and stronger, the real dragons and phoenixes also felt that the sound of their heartbeats resonated with the footsteps. Sound at the same time, disappear at the same time. Until, a giant beast surrounded by a mass of demonic energy suddenly appeared from the passage of the demon world. Roar. A huge roar followed, and with the demon realm channel as the center, countless fairy lights suddenly emerged and rushed towards this giant beast. This is the pressure from the immortal way. G. The giant beast made a strange cry, and the demonic energy on its body quickly rushed towards the light of immortality. In an instant, the demonic energy completely enveloped the light of immortality, and then disappeared together. At the same time, the giant beast also revealed its true appearance. The body, dozens of feet tall, was covered with thick black scales. And among the scales, there is still a steady stream of black energy emerging, wrapping around its body, thus resisting the pressure of the immortal Dao. The Dragon King and the Phoenix King once again ordered the tribe to retreat for dozens of miles. If it can withstand the power of immortality, then one can imagine the strength of this extraterrestrial devil. But how could it pass through the demonic passage? In the past, it was not that there were no demons from outside the realm appearing in this passage. In fact, there are quite a few. But generally speaking, the more powerful the extraterrestrial demon is, the more it will be restricted by the immortal way, and even itself will be restricted by the channel. A powerful person from the fairy world once came here to observe. This demon world passage is very fragile. If the extraterrestrial demon coming from the opposite side is a little stronger, the passage will collapse instantly. Therefore, although the fairy world is threatened by the demon world, there is no one specifically guarding it here. Now, this extraterrestrial devil has made even the divine beasts feel terror, and it can be known that there is a problem with the passage. Maybe the demon world is starting to move. King Xian may have expected this, so he asked us to stay here. The Dragon King took a deep breath and said to the Phoenix King, "Now, shall we fight or defend?" The Phoenix King clenched his fist tightly and created a ball of true phoenix fire. This is no less than the existence of heavenly fire. They would have been restricted by the immortal Dao originally, but after countless years of adaptation, they simultaneously became the divine beasts of this heaven-reaching immortal realm, and naturally gained the recognition of the immortal Deo. And seeing how the extraterrestrial demon can resolve the pressure of the immortal way so easily, it can be seen that this extraterritorial demon is very, very strong. Shall. The Dragon King said solemnly, King Xian asked us to cooperate with Zuyun, and Zuyun is in the chaotic sea of stars. You mean, wait for him to come back. But what is Zuyun doing in Luanzhongai? What if he doesn't come out? But King Fen was unsure. It's a pity that the Phoenix Fairy Pearl was taken away, otherwise. The Dragon King also gritted his teeth and said, since we have become this magical beast, we must protect the fairy world. Besides, King Xian also gave an order, we must not ruin his good deeds. They don't know much about the fairy world. They only know that they must protect the fairy world, otherwise they will be ashamed of Yayong. Then fight to the death, and don't retreat. King Fen was shocked and immediately transformed into his true form. Fire Phoenix. Qiang. The phoenix started to cry, and all the phoenixes here understood his phoenix language and transformed into their original forms. For a moment, the southern fairyland was ablaze. From afar, it seemed as if the starry sky here was burning. And in the phoenix fire, the deep and powerful dragon roar sounded like an eternal bell. It spread into the southern fairyland. It also spread to the western fairyland. It even spread to the demon world through the passage of the demon world. From the sound, it seems that the dragon and phoenix tribes, the passage of the fairy world is actually guarded by a divine beast. A nightmare demon, wearing a crown and a strange armor woven with black scales, sat in the void. Above his head was an extremely dark sun. The whole world was dull and bright. King, a nightmare demon knelt in front of him and said, in the Chaos Star Sea, the chess piece we planted in the four-eyebrow demon clan has been used, but he is dead. All the low-level demons with our blood in the Chaos Star Sea have transformed into 7 forms and are dying. Of course I know, the Nightmare Demon King smiled coldly, but I am not fully prepared yet. There is no news about the Nangong lineage. In the fairy world, we are in the dark. We don't even know that there are dragons and phoenixes guarding the other end of the passage. I don't know if the dog demon can break through their blockade. The dog demons are stupid, so they are not afraid of life or death. As long as we rush over and kill them, our clan can directly enter the fairyland. As far as we know, the southern fairyland where the passage is located is ruled by the descendants of the Nangong clan. We can gain a foothold in the southern fairyland and thus devour the entire human fairyland. Things are not that simple, the Nightmare Demon King stood up and said, the plan was launched too suddenly. We, the upper-class Nightmare clan, will not go for the time being. Let all the Sky Demon clan rush into the fairyland, and then we will control the lower-class Nightmare clan of the remaining branches and wait for an opportunity to move. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1928. The superior demons mentioned by the Nightmare King are the nightmares with the purest blood. The Nangong clan is a branch of the superior demon clan, and was sent to the fairy world to lead the charge. Nangong Tianli is one of them. All their news comes from Nangong Tianli. But Nangong Tianli died, Nangong Young Emperor was killed, and the other descendants of the Nangong clan were united and killed by the evil Immortals. Therefore, for the last period of time, they knew nothing about the immortal world. The Four-Eyebrow Demon clan can only be regarded as the pawns of their Nightmare clan, but their relative status is higher. The lower-level demons are the 7 forms of nightmares. The 7 nightmares in the Sea of Chaotic Stars are just descendants of lower-class demons and have only use value. The leader of the Four Eyebrows thought that he could conquer the Chaos Star Sea by letting these 7 nightmares inspire their bloodline. But in the Nightmare King's plan, he wanted them to die. After death, the demonic energy is recovered through the unique magic weapon here and through the blood of the Nightmare clan, and is finally used to stabilize the passage to the fairy world. The channel to the fairy world is the name of the demon world. Yes, my subordinate will continue to make arrangements. After the dog demon breaks out of the encirclement, he will be unprepared and let the other demons swarm up. The Nightmare King nodded slightly, but frowned. They have always been accustomed to starting after everything is ready. But right now, there is no news about the Nangong clan. It's too difficult. He shook his head slightly and turned to look at the sky. There was only a little halo left on the edge of the dark sun. Wait until the halo disappears completely. The demon world is completely destroyed. At the same time, in the chaos, Immortal Lord Tongtian opened his eyes again. The demon world actually moved without warning. He whispered and looked at the palm of his hand. The Chaos Lotus had grown to the height of a person. Above the main stem, there are buds ready to bloom. No, at least I have to wait until the Chaos Lotus blooms. Otherwise, I won't be able to use even 10% of the Chaos Immortal power in the chaos. All the plans of Immortal Lord Tongtian were disrupted. With Yang's nature, it is impossible to sit idly by and ignore it. This can be seen from the fact that he arranged for the Dragon and Phoenix tribes to guard the exit of the Demon World passage. I don't know if the 4 divine beasts will move out. If they stand idly by and watch, the fairy world may be in trouble. But as soon as they move out, it will prove another thing. Looking at it this way, it's not a foreign matter. After thinking for a moment, Immortal Lord Tongtian looked deeply at chaos. Then he closed his eyes again, absorbed the free chaos power, and nurtured the Chaos Lotus in his hand, so that through the Chaos Lotus, he could finally master the Chaos Immortal power. Wish Feng him. Finally, Zuyun saw an incredible scene. I saw that he was hiding in the tortoise shell, using the whale-swallowing demon technique, and he was actually devouring a complete nightmare. The surroundings were full of 7 nightmares. The nightmare transformed by the 4 Eyebrows Patriarch was particularly easy to recognize, and Zuyun noticed it at the first sight. He's not dead. Hearing Zuyun mention the word Zufeng to himself, Wan Potion quickly looked over. But he only saw Zufeng using the demon whale swallowing technique. And the familiar tortoise shell. It's immortal. If he is not dead, we cannot resurrect him from the river of time and space. Zuyun glanced at Wan Potion, removed the river of time and space, and then said, but he suddenly appeared, and I don't know where he went. Time went backwards, and Zuyun didn't notice it either. But what is certain is that Zufeng did not die, but he swallowed the nightmare and then disappeared. It's good if you're not dead, Wan Potion, who also had no clue, comforted him. Zufeng, this kid, has always been lucky, so he will be fine. Zuyun, you don't have to worry. Zuyun knew that Wan Potion was right. He could only adjust his current state of mind, so he said, by the way, you said before that you still want to refine the Chaos Sword and Wanjian Mountain? Find a way. Of course, Wan Potion blinked and smiled, but can you please stop peeking at me? I'll give you a surprise then. Zuyun suddenly smiled and said, okay. But having said that, I don't have time to peek at how you refine it. For me, Chaos Sword or Wanjian Mountain, maybe I can do it casually. You can do it, Wan Potion said sternly, but such Chaos Sword and Wanjian Mountain are of no use to me. I understand. I've practiced swords before, and I've also practiced your Wuji sword technique. After saying a few words, Zuyun's mood improved a lot. Looking at the chaotic star sea, there were fewer and fewer 7 nightmares coming here, and he knew that it was almost done. At the same time, he glanced at Menghui's side and saw that a demon king from the Holy Demon clan had already rushed back here and was bending down to listen to Menghui's arrangements. Lao Wan, I'll take you back first. After that, he sent Wan Potion back to the soul-eating demon star, and then he arrived at Mengwea. Blessings to the immortal master, do you have any other plans? Shi Wuyuan and others said in unison, and the demon lord of the holy demon clan and other demon lords and demons also followed suit, and then looked at Zuyun curiously. Zuyun nodded slightly, and then said to Mengwea, Wea, I always feel a little uneasy. In this way, you and Wuyuan demon lord and others will go outside the Chaos Star Sea to see what's going on in the immortal realm. What about them? Mengwea pointed at his subordinates. How about you stay here and wait until all the members of the Holy Demon Clan return from the war, then rush out of the Sea of Chaotic Stars together. Zuyun also had a plan in mind. I will obey the orders of the Immortal Lord. This Demon King, who met for the first time, immediately bowed and accepted the order. Thank you for your hard work. I will send you to the Holy Demon Star later. Zuyun chuckled, and then said, Now I am in the realm of the Immortal King. No one in the Chaos Star Sea can defeat me. Don't worry. Everyone responded and watched Zuyun leave. Next, Zuyun will place all the demon stars in the Chaos Star Sea into the Liulai Immortal Realm. Of course, he will also consciously keep these demon stars away from the chaos. In addition, the demon kings of the ancient demon clan will temporarily become the last line of defense before the Liulai chaos. In order to prevent some demons from going to investigate the situation without knowing what is good for them. After all, the Chaos Lotus and the Liulai star suddenly disappeared from the spot, but they could still feel something was there. Zuyun was not sure if others could have the same feeling. After arranging everything, Zuyun flew in one direction. Whether it was the wasteland or the complete demon star, he would explore the immortal consciousness. As long as there is a group of demons, he will use his magic power to place them in the Liulai immortal realm without saying a word. Over and over again, Zuyun's efficiency is very high. After a few days, there are already hundreds of demon stars in the Liulai immortal realm. Those demons have no idea what happened. However, Zuyun also gave orders to let the chiefs of the whale-swallowing clan and the Yaluo clan be responsible for appeasement and warning. At the same time, he also kept a watchful eye and asked them to find out if there are any demon fairies who have practiced magic skills and finally ascended to the three-eyed demon star. If there are, they will be brought to the three-eyed demon star. As for whether they can survive on the soul-devouring demon star in the end, Zuyun will have to decide at that time. In this move, Zuyun also remembered the old friendship and wanted to meet Lengbing and other Taoist friends who fought side by side on the Yellow Star at that time. Seeing each other again is a fate, and he is willing to give a certain fairy fate in the Liulai immortal realm. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzhuan Xianxia. Chapter 1929. As more and more demons entered the Liulai immortal realm, Zuyun also found that his chaos immortal power was getting stronger and stronger. In addition, you can feel that the laws of the fairy world are slowly improving. This feedback to his body is also extremely obvious. Zuyun only needed to think about some rules that he had never practiced before, and then he fully understood them. If it takes more than an hour to think about it, it means that the laws he understands are different from the laws of the Tongtian immortal realm. Zuyun thought about this problem. There will definitely be a difference between the glazed immortal realm and the Tongtian immortal realm in the end. Because the Tongtian immortal world is the human race's immortal world. And Liulai Fairyland can accommodate all races. A strange idea suddenly came to his mind. If the nightmare could live safely in the Liulai immortal realm, would it be feasible to no longer engage in such behind-the-scenes conspiracy and benefit oneself at the expense of others? But soon, Zuyun threw this idea out of his mind. In the Yellow Star, the four mortal worlds, the spiritual world, and even the fairy world, Zuyun kept fighting against the Nightmare clan. He is also a nightmare demon, and he is also a nightmare demon. He deeply felt the horror of the Nightmare clan. The Nightmare demon is a demon of 7 sins, a demon that exists due to the 7 original sins of human beings. Suddenly, Zuyun remembered the explanation someone gave him when he was in the lower realm. Everyone has original sin. If there is a nightmare monster living in the Liuli immortal realm, I am afraid there will be endless troubles. Zuyun took a deep breath and decided in his heart that no matter who had the blood of the Nightmare clan, he would be killed without mercy. The final battle with the nightmares in the Sea of Chaotic Stars was naturally with the endless 7 nightmares. There is no wisdom at all in these, and they are completely controlled by others. He didn't want this kind of problem to happen in his own Liuli immortal realm. To cut weeds, we need to get rid of the roots, and to take precautions before they happen. When all the magic stars here are put in, I will be able to achieve the realm of the Immortal Lord. By then I will enter the Chinese immortal realm, and Xiu Linjian will not be qualified to use me anymore, right? By then, Ye Yongyong is want to go back to Blue Star? Let him take Xiu Linjian back. Zuyun made up his mind, and the movements of his hands became much faster. Thanks to the growth of his realm, he also benefited from being much more proficient. A few days later again, Meng Wei took Shi Weiyuan and more than a dozen demon lords outside the Chaos Star Sea. You guys stay in the Chaos Star Sea for now. Meng Wei knew that these demon kings would still be under the pressure of the immortal Dao. This situation would be more obvious outside the scope of the Chaos Star Sea. She ordered, I'll go out and have a look and then come back. Zuyun asked her to inquire about news nearby, and Meng Wei knew what he meant. The Sea of Chaotic Stars will eventually end and become a piece of history in the fairy world, and a new road will begin from here. She sighed in her heart, and then flew out of the Chaotic Star Sea. Instantly, a series of dull and weird roars reached her ears. What followed was the entanglement of various demonic energies and the power of dragons and phoenixes. Very weak, indicating that it is far away. Could it be that something happened over there in the passage? Meng Wei's heart tightened, and he quickly held the magic knife tightly in his hand. Then, she used demonic energy and chaotic fairy power to control the eyes of the holy demon at the same time, and looked towards the direction of the demon world passage. The demon world has invaded. She saw a void soaked in blood. The dragon and phoenix clans, plus the demons from outside the territory. The huge corpse was floating like that. Either the head is in a different place, or the limbs are broken. Fire, dragons roar, demons roar. The 2 clans of dragon and phoenix follow the previous hexagram. There is an endless stream of demons from outside the territory. There is no magical power, and there is no magical power like dragon or phoenix. They completely relied on their innate instincts to bite and bite with their physical bodies. Phoenix's beak, dragon's claws, and devil's teeth. Apart from being miserable, Meng Wei couldn't think of any other words to describe it. Frightened, she quickly retreated into the Sea of Stars. The scene was no longer in front of her. The clothes on her body were stained with coldness, telling her that everything was true. Dream Lord. Shi Weiyuan and others naturally noticed something was wrong with Meng Wei and quickly called out, causing her to come back to her senses. What happened outside? As a soul-devouring demon clan, Shi Weiyuan was naturally extremely sensitive to the vibrations of Meng Wei's immortal soul, and knew that she must have been mentally frightened by something. The demon world has invaded. Meng Wei took a deep breath and said calmly. What? The demon kings of the 2 clans screamed uncontrollably. Why are they in the fairy world? Aren't they just driven to the fairy world by demons from outside the realm? After hundreds of thousands of years of survival, they gradually learned that the extraterrestrial demons were actually used by the Nightmare clan. Obviously, the extraterrestrial demon mentioned by Meng Wei was also used by the Nightmare demon to rush through the passage of the demon world. As demon lords, they all knew about this passage. Every time I pass by, I will stand still and take a deep look. Because that end is their true ancestral land. Even if I can't go back, still. But they knew better that if they wanted to reproduce their tribe, they would not be able to go back. The ancestral land can only become the ancestral land in memory. Before Zuyun placed them in the glazed immortal realm, they slowly got used to it and regarded chaotic Star Sea as their ancestral land. Therefore, it would naturally be extremely shocking to hear that demons from outside the realm have begun to invade the fairy world. Is there any immortal in the immortal world that can stop it? Xianxia also asked. There are no immortals blocking it. Meng Wei shook his head and said, the dragon and phoenix clan's divine beasts are blocking it. On the side of the extraterrestrial demons, they are all powerful physical demons with low spiritual intelligence such as dog demons. When they heard the word dog demon, the demon king's pupils also shrank. They knew how powerful this demon was. If they are well trained, even 10 demon lords will not be enough for them to bite. As for what Meng Wei said, there were other heavenly demons, which they couldn't even imagine. The living environment in the demon world is harsh, and these demons are one of the reasons. Then, how should we deal with it? Shi Wuyuan thought for a moment and asked again. I want to kill him. The fairy world cannot be chaotic at this time. Meng Wei knew that if Zuyun were here, he would definitely not want to see such a scene. He seems ruthless, but towards humans. If these demons break out of the defense line and enter the fairy world, I am afraid that no living thing will survive wherever they go. Whether it's a fairy land or a world star in the lower realm. Demon Lord Kameng, we demon lords, were of no use in the past, right? Xianxia smiled bitterly. Meng Wei showed a relaxed smile, and she stretched out her hand to stroke the blade of her magic knife. This sword can kill all heavenly demons in the demon world. The same is true in the fairy world. In addition, Meng Wei's eyes were filled with magic light. Have you forgotten? Our holy demon clan, why are we called the holy demon clan? Without waiting for the demon kings to respond, Meng Wei said again, the demon kings from the holy demon clan are almost here, and I feel that they are gathering and rushing towards here. Wait a little longer, wait until they are all here. Once we are all here, we will fight together to help the dragon and phoenix tribes. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1930. Phoenix King, how do you feel? The Dragon King was covered in blood, and the strength of the extraterritorial demons was beyond his imagination. Not only him, but the rest of the dragons were also like this. But the phoenix could not see it very well, because they were all on fire. Not very good, the Phoenix King also panted, and said, we have killed extraterritorial demons before, but we have never seen such a strong one. The Dragon King said, I think the extraterritorial demons that came in before may be just small minions in the demon realm. Also, the passage to the demon realm has not been opened, and powerful extraterritorial demons cannot come in. He smiled bitterly and gritted his teeth and said, hold on for a while, maybe reinforcements will come later. As soon as the voice fell, in the southern fairyland, countless fairy lights appeared. But these fairy lights are evil, revealing a strange breath everywhere. Dragon King. Phoenix King. We are here to help you. It was the evil fairy kings in the southern fairy emperor realm. The Dragon King was very surprised. He didn't expect that these evil fairies would come to help at this time. The Phoenix King frowned and whispered, it is rumored that the evil immortals are colluding with the outer demons. Will they? Collusion, bullshit, the Dragon King cursed, didn't you see the desperate fighting style of these outer demons? They are obviously not intelligent. The evil immortals are smarter than monkeys, how could they collude with the outer demons? In fact, he had something else to say. These evil immortals were simply used by the Nangong Nightmare clan. Now, all the evil immortals in the southern immortal realm have been killed, which obviously shows that they want to turn from evil to good. Maybe the immortal method they practiced can no longer be changed. But the original intention can be changed. The immortals have unlimited lifespans. As long as they can endure loneliness, stop practicing evil methods, and turn to other great ways, they can also pursue higher levels. The Dragon King has lived in the southern immortal realm for a long time and knows this well. The most important thing is that he also saw with his own eyes the deterrence of Zuyun against these evil immortals. And at the moment, they are indeed a little difficult to support. There are many immortals among the evil immortals, and some Lucian immortals have strange methods, and they may be able to deal with these extraterritorial demons. Dragon King, Phoenix King. You take a break, and leave it to us to deal with it next. When the leading evil immortal said this, a righteous spirit came out of his body. Under his order, more than 10 evil immortals appeared beside him. The Dragon King and the Phoenix King knew what was going on and really needed to rest, so they quickly ordered their tribesmen to retreat from the battle. The extraterritorial demons are very strong, but the most unbearable thing for the two tribes of beasts is that they can continuously come out of the demon world channel. And the elite of the two tribes are all here. If one is injured, one retreats. If one dies, one less. They will always be at a disadvantage. If you are not of my kind, you must have a different heart. The face of this evil immortal was stern, and he was holding a strange and mysterious immortal weapon in his hand, but at this moment, he said solemnly, in the past, we were used by the people of the demon world, and thus brought disaster to the immortal world. Now, it is time for us to atone for our sins. Outside demons, you cannot enter my immortal world. Unless we die here. These 3 sentences made all the evil immortals' momentum suddenly rise. Charge! Countless evil immortals rushed up with the immortal weapons in their hands. 5 flowers and 8 gates, colorful and ever-changing. Countless rays of light exploded at the entrance of this demon world passage. Like the gorgeous fireworks in the mortal world that illuminated the night sky. In the southern immortal realm, all the evil immortals above the Deluo Xianxia gathered here. At the same time, it also alarmed the border of the western immortal realm. It even alarmed the guards at the border of the Chinese immortal realm, which was a little further away. The guards reported the news to the higher authorities, and finally it reached Xianxia's ears. Even the evil immortals gathered at the passage to the demon world. Could it be that something has changed there? The Lord of Wind, Cloud, Thunder, and Lightning looked at Xianxia with a frown. No matter how the demon world changes, it has nothing to do with our Zhongfang immortal realm. Xianxia looked at Ye Yang, who was pretending to sleep meaningfully, and then said, the Phoenix clan came out in full force at that time, so I guessed something. She didn't care at first, she still needed to use Sun Qinyang as a pawn to control the Phoenix clan. As long as Sun Qinyang was not taken away and stayed in the ancestral land of the Phoenix clan, everything would be fine. She paid special attention to the thousands of members of the Phoenix clan, and when she didn't see Sun Qinyang, she felt strange in her heart. Then she went to the ancestral land of the Phoenix clan to check secretly, and was shocked to find that Sun Qinyang had disappeared long ago. However, she was also open-minded and had anticipated various possible changes early. Sun Qinyang is gone, but her overall plan will not change. Moreover, the more chaotic the fairy world is, the better it is for her. If it is too peaceful, she will not be able to see anything. The fairy world is the foundation of our human race. If the nest is destroyed, all the eggs will be broken. Xianxia, if you don't care about the invasion of the demons, then I want to know, what's the point of you still guarding the central fairy land? Why is Emperor Ye unconscious? Hearing the doubts of Lord Fenjian Lidian, Xianxia raised her eyebrows and said, how dare you talk to me like this? Have you forgotten the bet you made that year? Bet. The Lord of Wind, Cloud, and Thunder turned around and sneered, I haven't forgotten the bet, but I can see now that you had already planned on me and made me your pawn. What do you mean you'll let me go after I finish 3 things? After so long, you only let me do 2 things. If you really think so, then I can't do anything about it." Xianxia spread her hands, but with a smile on her face, and said, "In that case, I'll let you do the last thing today." "What is it?" The Lord of Wind, Cloud, and Thunder suddenly became happy. "Don't you want to go over there to take a look? Well, you go to help the dragon and phoenix tribes, as well as those evil immortals, and kill the outer demons." Are you kidding?" Xianxia was so considerate that it made the Lord of Wind, Cloud, and Thunder feel unreal. "No," Xianxia said with a smile, "but there is one condition." The Lord of Wind, Cloud, and Thunder showed an expression of as expected, and snorted, "I knew it was not that simple." "No, no, no," Xianxia said with a smile, "it's very simple, but you think too much. Since you want to go, then you should do it more extreme. I want you, there will be no more foreign demons in the fairy world, and our bet will be over. How about it?" "That's it?" The Lord of Wind, Cloud, and Thunder was stunned again, unaware that his mood was completely controlled by Xianxia. "What else?" Xianxia turned around and said, "The Lord will not return until the demons are destroyed, so go ahead. As long as you can do this, it will have nothing to do with me in the future." "Okay, you said it." The Lord of Wind, Cloud, and Thunder also couldn't understand what Xianxia was thinking, but from the literal meaning, there was no problem. When the human race is in trouble, we immortals will not stand idly by. After saying that, his figure suddenly turned into a flash of lightning and quickly disappeared. Xianxia also put away her smile and turned to walk in front of Yang. She stretched out her hand with pity and slid it across Yang's handsome face. "The demon will not be destroyed, and the great king will not return. There is no one in the immortal world, so you, Yang, will you still want to go back?" You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1931. The moment the Lord of Wind, Cloud, and Thunder left the Central Fairyland, the news spread throughout the Central Fairyland. Then it spread to the Western and Eastern Fairylands. In the cognition of these immortals, most of them thought that the Lord of Wind, Cloud, and Thunder stayed in the Central Fairyland in order to seize power and become the immortal emperor. But why did he leave suddenly and go to the Southern Fairyland? The explosion at the Demon Realm passage was too sudden. Not many people knew the information. But after a little investigation by those who were interested, the news spread like wildfire, and the news of the invasion of the Demon Realm began to spread. For a time, everyone was in danger. The Dragon Clan, the Phoenix Clan, the Evil Immortal, the Immortal Lord. They dared not imagine how tragic the battle here would be. Charge! The human race will never retreat. The evil immortals suffered heavy losses, but the evil immortal lords showed their absolute momentum. Half of them have died. However, Luo Xianxia and the evil immortal lord were at most seriously injured. But if there are fewer people, the demons from outside the domain will have the upper hand. On the other side of the demon world, I don't know how many more demon beasts will appear. Dog demons, tiger demons, leopard demons, lion demons. Various demon beasts like demons, under the control of nightmare demons, are constantly trying to break through the encirclement outside the demon world channel. They will all die here in the end. The Dragon King said in a serious voice. Perhaps they have a change of heart, said the Phoenix King with a wry smile. They said as soon as they came that they were here to atone for their sins. Immortals have no conscience. The Dragon King shook his head and said, have you ever seen an immortal who is willing to help others? Immortals who ascended from the lower world all came out of a sea of blood and corpses. and the immortals who were born in the immortal world have been worn down by endless years. Yes, the master used to say that time is a butcher knife that will kill everything. What about eternal life? He would rather not be an immortal here, and wants to be an ordinary person, born, old, sick and dead, and have a perfect life. Amid the Phoenix King's sigh, the entrance to the demon realm passage suddenly became windy and thunderous. Lord of the wind, cloud, and thunder. The Dragon King and the Phoenix King were stunned, and then looked at each other and found the fear in each other's eyes. Why is he here? The Phoenix King and the Dragon King both knew that the Lord of Wind, Cloud, and Thunder was actually Xianxia's puppet in the central immortal realm. But at this time, he was alone here. Did he fulfill Xianxia's 3 promises? Dragon King, Phoenix King, long time no see, how are you? In their shock, the Lord of Wind, Cloud, Thunder, and Lightning suddenly appeared in front of them. However, he stood with his back to the 2 of them and his hands behind his back, showing his pride. He has such capital. Because he was once the most powerful immortal king in the fairy world. Without waiting for the Dragon King and the Phoenix King to respond, the Lord of Wind, Cloud, Thunder, and Lightning opened his mouth and uttered a voice, which spread in all directions. You evil immortals, retreat quickly. Otherwise, the thunder of my heavenly punishment will hurt you without any difference. The unquestionable voice fell, and the evil immortal king and Lucian evil immortals showed a look of fear. To say who is the biggest threat to them in the fairy world, it is the Lord of Wind, Cloud, Thunder, and Lightning. Mastering the 4 laws to perfection, no one can achieve this state. Moreover, the laws of thunder and lightning have a great restraining effect on the evil spirits in them. In 3 breaths, I will use the supreme magic to bombard this passage to the demon world. While the Lord of Wind, Cloud, and Thunder began to count down, he also gathered the power of the law in his hands. One hand was thunder, and the other hand was electricity. 3, 2, 1. After 3 breaths, he suddenly put his palms together, and actually directly combined 2 laws. With a muffled bang, a lightning snake emerged from between his fingers. Immediately afterwards, the Lord of Wind, Cloud, and Thunder raised his palms above his head, and then chopped down from the air. Lightning movie. In the passage to the demon world, lightning exploded. I saw a huge ball of lightning appear out of thin air, constantly rotating in it. And, while rotating, there were also lightning snakes that emerged, bombarding those extraterritorial demons who had just walked from the other side of the demon world. The wind rises, the clouds surge. He turned his hand to wind, and turned his hand to cloud. It was another 2 laws, and the palm turned over and merged into one. Those extraterritorial demons who were trying to rush out with the lightning movie were hit by endless strong winds, making it even more difficult for them to get out. However, the extraterritorial demons who had already completely walked towards the fairyland were not affected. The Lord of Wind, Cloud, and Thunder was very strong. But after all, it was difficult to support the whole thing alone. Dragon King, Phoenix King, evil immortal. The fish that slipped through the net are left to you. I will deal with the ones in the demon world passage. He knew this problem clearly, so he said in a low voice. In an instant, the 3 tribes had no time to rest and rushed up one after another. But their overall strength was still slightly inferior. Until a cry came from the southern fairyland again. Dragon King, Phoenix King, I'm here. That kind of arrogance like a young lady, and an extremely unfamiliar voice came over. Everyone looked back. I saw a petite figure, stepping on the phoenix tree, with phoenix wings on her back, holding a fire sword, and looking heroic. Phoenix Queen! The Phoenix King exclaimed. The Dragon King was also incredulous. This is the Phoenix Queen? She doesn't look dignified at all. But since the Phoenix King knew her, there was no way he could have made a mistake. Ha ha ha, I don't like this name, just call me Sun Kinyang. It was Sun Qinyang who had fully recovered. She had become a true phoenix. But she didn't want to become a phoenix queen and become a beast of a clan. She was a human. Let's talk about it later, kill the demons first. The Phoenix King felt bad, but he also put the overall situation first. As soon as he turned around, Sun Qinyang's delicate body passed over his head. She was flexible, stepping on the phoenix tree like riding the wind and waves, and flew into the group of extraterritorial demons. Flames were everywhere, killing all around. She was very small, but very flexible. She was dodging and moving, and she seemed to be very happy. But her phoenix fire could burn these extraterritorial demons. How did she do it? Not only was the Dragon King surprised, but the Phoenix King was also extremely shocked. The Phoenix Fire and the Phoenix Fire looked very different, but they were essentially the same. The Phoenix King had difficulty in burning these extraterritorial demons, but why was it so easy for Sun Qinyang? It seems to be the sword energy. The fire of the Phoenix Queen contains the sword energy. The Dragon King suddenly exclaimed, and then looked at the phoenix tree under Sun Qinyang's feet. She actually used this phoenix as a sword. The Phoenix King also looked at the scene in disbelief. They didn't know that Sun Qinyang was born with a sword body. Although, this sword body came from Jian Tianming. But after Jian Tianming became one with her, naturally, the sword body was equal to hers. More importantly, Sun Qinyang took a different approach with her sword. She once refined the spiritual power of Zhang Daozun for her own use. This also made her sword power, Phoenix Fire, pervasive, drilling into the cracks in the scales of these extraterritorial demons. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1932. Sun Qinyang's appearance and unstoppable force immediately caused the extraterritorial demons outside the demon realm channel to suffer a devastating blow. With her help, the number of these extraterritorial demons began to decrease sharply. With Sun Qinyang as the main attacker, the rest of the true dragons and true phoenixes, as well as those evil immortals, also attacked from the sidelines. Just as the situation was looking good, the demon realm channel suddenly changed. Because the Lord of Wind, Cloud, Thunder, and Lightning could not support the situation alone. They could not see the demon realm, but the movements here could be fully fed back to the Nightmare Demon King. Feeling the weakening of the demonic energy, he naturally knew that he was strongly blocked by the immortal realm. It was very unexpected. But for them, it was not a bad thing. The Lord of Wind, Cloud, Thunder, and Lightning was not weak. But the death of these extraterritorial demons allowed their demonic energy to feed back to the demon realm channel again, thus further expanding the channel. In this way, the extraterritorial demons from the demon world were at a certain distance from the lightning movie of the Lord of Wind, Cloud, and Thunder. They could reduce the damage to some extent, and thus rush out of the demon world channel and reach the fairy world. You, come and help me. The Lord of Wind, Cloud, and Thunder was also stretched to the limit. Seeing that he had the upper hand in the southern fairyland, he would naturally call for help. Sun Qinyang quickly looked over, and her pretty face tightened immediately. She stepped on the phoenix tree and flew over quickly. Phoenix sword, life sword, heaven sword. She shouted in her mouth, and the phoenix fire continued to rise in her hands to form a series of sword energy. At the same time, her body was also floating with phoenix fire, and from a distance, it looked like a sword. And under her feet, the phoenix tree was also like a fire sword. 3 swords were fired at the same time, shooting towards an extraterritorial demon. Boom! 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 Instantly, flames burst out, and the demon from outside the domain that was hit was shattered immediately, leaving no trace. Sun Qinyang just turned her eyes to other places, but suddenly found that when the demon from outside the domain died, a wisp of black air condensed and poured into the passage to the demon world. Suddenly, she saw that the passage to the demon world seemed to have expanded a bit. She was slightly stunned, and then reacted in an instant, shouting, "Hold your hands, hold your hands, seriously injure the demon from outside the domain, don't kill it directly." This was very wrong, but everyone present was like a smart person, and after a closer look, they found that the passage to the demon world had expanded a lot. The Lord of Wind, Cloud, and Thunder was also extremely shocked, but he soon had a countermeasure. The wind rises. The clouds surge. Seal it, cloud pupa. The strong wind rose, carrying endless immortal power, as if it were real, condensing at the edge of the passage to the demon world. The clouds that appeared out of thin air were also entwined and swirled, like silkworm pupae, combined with the power of the wind fairy, like a pile of tomb doors, trying to seal this place. Great Lord, no. At this time, the Phoenix King exclaimed, and everyone looked over immediately. It turned out that this mysterious fairy art was actually based on the lifespan of the Wind Cloud Thunder Lord. No wonder he didn't use this fairy art before. If we don't seal it again, I'm afraid we can't stop it. The Wind Cloud Thunder Lord had a blank expression on his face, as if it didn't matter to his life or death. Such a righteousness made others stand in awe. The long-famous Fairy King was like this, so what about them? Dragon Clan, follow me. The Dragon King shouted. The Phoenix Clan must not fall behind the dragon. The fire on the Phoenix King rose again. At this time, a red light suddenly came. The voice came before the person appeared. How can the affairs of the demon world be without our holy demon clan? Dream without end. She used her magic eyes to transmit the sound, and that cold and cute voice reached everyone's ears. Wia! Is that you? This familiar voice made Sun Qinyang tremble all over, and a look of joy suddenly appeared in her eyes. Qinyang. Meng Wei was immediately surprised, and his figure also appeared. In the distance behind her, it was the Demon Lord, and Demon Lord of the Holy Demon Clan, as well as demons of lower realms. In addition to the Holy Demon Clan, there are also 4 Demon Lords of the Soul-Devouring Demon Clan, Shi Huiyan, and more than 10 Demon Lords of the Three-Eyed Demon Clan. The fairy world has added more combat power. Wia, why are you here too? Sun Qinyang looked down at the magic knife in her hand, and suddenly felt dizzy and dared not look directly. Meng Wei laughed and said, Qinyang, you should rest for a while. For the affairs of the demon world, we demons will naturally be the first to bear it. As the voice fell, countless red magic pillars suddenly appeared in the void. The Holy Demon Eye of the Holy Demon Clan. The red light of the demon eye shone into the dark passage. Then, the demonic energy surged, the light in the passage became bright, and the outlines of the extraterritorial demons gradually appeared. Humph! Meng Wei snorted coldly and pointed the magic knife forward. Magic beasts, are they worthy of competing with our demons? As soon as the voice fell, the immortal power and demonic energy on the magic knife entangled, and quickly became thicker and longer, pointing directly into the passage. Wherever the tip of the knife went, it could actually directly pierce through the obstructing extraterritorial demons. Some demon beasts were killed by the magic knife just when they could see the fairy land. Wia, don't kill them. Sun Qinyang suddenly came to her senses, because she was afraid that the demonic energy would fill the demon world passage. Meng Wei killed so quickly, it is conceivable that so much demonic energy would make the passage surge to what extent? It's you who can't kill, not us, the Holy Demon Clan. Meng Wei chuckled and shouted again, Master Shi, it's your turn to be a soul devourer. Ha ha ha, Master Meng, don't worry. Although these extraterritorial demons are a little stupid, their demon soul power can also help us practice. Shi Huiyan, Shi Huija, Shi Huidao, Shi Wushan. The 4 soul devourer demon kings actually rushed straight to the entrance of the passage, as if they were not affected at all. Old Yan. You also control the three-eyed demon pupils and help us. After the four demon kings stood in position, Shi Huiyan also shouted. No problem. Yanzai also suddenly opened the demon eye on his forehead. Then, the rest of the demon kings did the same. The Holy Demon Clan, the Three-Eyed Demon Clan. They all know how to control the pupil technique, and the red light in their eyes illuminates the passage. Hee hee. Meng Wei suddenly laughed. Guess, who I saw? Everyone was stunned. Meng Wei suddenly frowned, and his handsome features became ferocious. Nightmare Demon King. The creatures in the fairy world did not understand what these three words meant in the demon world. But the faces of the demons all changed. There is no doubt that this is the mastermind behind the fall of their demons. But Meng Wei laughed again, but he can't defend against my magic knife? Watch me take his head. The magic knife seemed to be able to grow infinitely longer. At the same time, under Meng Wei's control, the yin and yang chaos circle at the handle was also spinning wildly, absorbing the fairy power here. The magic knife itself also absorbed a lot of demonic energy, and after the blade appeared in the demon world, the demonic energy was even purer. The spiritual wisdom in the knife laughed happily, and the magic knife suddenly grew a few points. Faintly, the people in the fairy world seemed to hear the heart-wrenching roar coming from the demon world. Protect the Emperor. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1933. The Nightmare Demon itself is not very powerful. Like the Seven Nightmare Clan, or the extraterritorial demons with the blood of the Nightmare Clan, they essentially rely on their original demon beast physique. And Meng Wei's magic knife came out of nowhere. Not only does it have demonic properties, it is also full of chaotic fairy power and laws, and it is extremely fast. Not to mention, the sword fairy in it has long been integrated with Huang Mingxing's planetary will. Otherwise, how could Meng Wei be recognized by Tong Tianxiandao? The magic knife is madly absorbing the magic energy at this end, and the handle is constantly absorbing the fairy power in the fairy world, which is transformed into the supreme chaotic fairy power by the yin-yang chaos circle. These two supreme powers are combined together, and the Nightmare Demon King, who has mediocre combat power, is pierced through the body by the magic knife at once, even if he has the strength of a demon king. Instantly, the momentum in the demon world stopped abruptly. Until 3 breaths later, all the demon kings screamed. But they are not the death of the Nightmare Demon King. But they also have a chance to compete for the position of Nightmare Demon King. Whoever wins the crown will be the new Nightmare Demon King. Not only can he command the entire Nightmare Demon clan, but he can also use the crown to control all the extraterritorial demons and demons with Nightmare Demon blood. Boom. 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 In an instant, dozens of Nightmare Demon Lords fought together, and this scene was completely captured by Meng Wei through the magic knife. I didn't expect it. Good luck. Meng Wei chuckled. The danger of the demon world has been temporarily resolved. Then, it's these uncontrolled and suddenly crazy extraterritorial demons. She stepped back suddenly, and the magic knife was also retracted. She turned to look at the Lord of Wind, Cloud, and Thunder. Lord, please seal this passage to the demon world. The Lord of Wind, Cloud, and Thunder nodded slightly. If the pressure here is reduced suddenly, he will not need to burn his lifespan anymore. The Tongxian immortal art appeared in his hand, and he asked again, are you from the demon clan or the human clan? Meng Wei raised his eyebrows and asked, what does your majesty mean? We are both dealing with the demon world, is there anything to doubt? After the voice fell, Sun Qiniang also flashed, and the firelight emerged from Meng Wei's side. She smiled and said, Your Majesty, I am not a human either. Do you have any questions? The Wind, Cloud, Thunder, and Lightning Lord sighed, stopped talking, and turned to control the immortal art. He no longer used the sealed cloud pupa, but used the previous lightning movie to strangle those extraterritorial demons that would still crawl out of the demon world passage. The demon souls and demonic energy that surged out after death were all sucked out of the passage by the joint efforts of the three-eyed demon clan and the soul-devouring demon clan. Without the support of the demonic energy, the passage of the demon world no longer expanded, and naturally the offensive pressure on the other side remained stable. The wind, cloud, thunder, and lightning lord slowly blocked the side walls of the passage bit by bit, reducing the exit of the demon world passage. Without anyone's influence, he was absolutely sure that this passage would allow these powerful extraterritorial demons to rush out. At the same time, the Dragon and Phoenix clans and the evil Immortals worked together to kill the extraterritorial demons that had already entered the fairyland. They were fighting on their own and were no match at all. They just relied on their strong physique to hold on for a long time. But in the end, they slowly died. Until the passage was completely sealed and no extraterritorial demons could break out of it. It's finally over. Meng Wei panted slightly, looked at Sun Qiniang with a smile, and said, if Zuyun came out, he would definitely be very happy. Sun Qiniang's eyes lit up, really? Of course it's true, why would I lie to you? Meng Wei looked in the direction of the Chaos Star Sea. She had already felt that the demonic energy over there had weakened a lot. Shi Huiyan and the other four soul-devouring demon lords were in high spirits. On the other hand, Xianxia and the others were frowning. When will Lord Meng and Lord Zhu come? We have consumed a lot. Meng Wei chuckled, now you should recover here. Although the passage to the demon world is sealed, there will still be some demonic energy leaking out from it. The Lord of Wind, Cloud, Thunder, and Lightning can only prevent the outer demons from coming out, but cannot prevent the demonic energy. That is an existence equivalent to the power of Immortals, and he cannot transcend it. Lord Zhu. Hearing the three words in Yanzai's words, Sun Qiniang was also stunned. Meng Wei shook his head, signaling Sun Qiniang not to ask more questions, so as not to be disadvantageous. Sun Qiniang naturally understood, and asked, when will Zuyun come back? It should be, soon, right? Meng Wei was not sure either, and ordered the Holy Demon clan to clean up the battlefield here. The bodies of these outer demons were huge, and the blood of the Nightmare clan was still flowing in their bodies. To be on the safe side, they must be completely destroyed. The Phoenix King also ordered his tribesmen to help, using the Phoenix fire to cremate all the bodies. The Dragon King also stepped forward to help, and the Dragon Breath could also play a corresponding role. Zuyun arrived late until this side was completely dealt with. The Chaos Star Sea still exists, but all the demon stars and wastelands where demons live have been placed in the glazed immortal realm. At this time, Zuyun's body was also surging with demonic energy, as if he had symptoms of biting off more than he could chew and having difficulty digesting. Zuyun, did it work? Meng Wei was delighted when he saw this, and rushed forward. It's done. Zuyun nodded, and then looked at Sun Qiniang, and said happily, Qiniang, have you reshaped your body? Yes, Sun Qiniang replied in a tender voice, and looked up and down at Zuyun again, raising her eyebrows, not bad, you are already an immortal king. It seems that I still can't catch up with you. Zuyun laughed dumbly. Ever since he despised Sun Qiniang's weak realm on Huangmingxing, Sun Qiniang regarded him as her enemy of life and wanted to surpass him in realm no matter what. But no matter what, he always walked ahead of her. Zuyun smiled, I'm just lucky. Luck. Sun Qiniang shook her head and said seriously, it's also a kind of strength. Zuyun did not comment, and turned to greet the Wind Cloud Thunder Lord. Lord, I have heard of you for a long time. The Wind Cloud Thunder Lord looked puzzled, do you know me? Zuyun smiled slightly, I have seen you. Where? The Wind Cloud Thunder Lord has been guarding the central immortal realm for many years, and ordinary people cannot see him, even if Zuyun is now in the realm of an immortal king. What's more, the old immortal king knew him, but Zuyun could obviously tell from Sun Qinyang's words that he had just broken through. I met him in the Mayanbei Immortal Kingdom. Zuyun glanced at Sun Qinyang and said seriously, "Thank you for saving Qinyang's life at that time." The wind, cloud, thunder, and lightning lord said, "I also have an agreement with someone. She asked me to save the queen. I keep my promise and will not break it." There is no need for the immortal King Zhu to be so polite. With a look of keeping strangers away, Zuyun didn't care at all. He smiled and said, "Who is it?" "Qiu Linjian." The face of the wind, cloud, thunder, and lightning lord changed. The only one who knew about this matter, apart from him and Qiu Linjian, was Ye Yong. But hasn't Ye Yong been unconscious all the time? And the three-item agreement between him and Qiu Linjian only started after Ye Yong fell into a coma. Why does Zuyun, a young immortal king, know so much? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1934. Lord, Zuyun also had his own intentions, and said with a smile, "I wonder if you came here this time to help seal the passage to the demon world. Is it your own will, or is it because of the agreement between you and Qiu Linjian?" Lord Fenjiun Lidian sneered, "What do you have to do with it?" "It has nothing to do with me." Zuyun shook his head when he saw him like this. He just needed to make sure of one thing. It's good that Lord Fenjiun Lidian will not become his enemy. One less enemy of the immortal king will be better for him to enter the central immortal realm. Looking at the current situation, it is obvious that there is no more turmoil in the southern immortal realm. Next, we only need to let these evil immortals abide by the way of the human race, and naturally there will be no more trouble. Zuyun originally just understood the evil immortals' actions. But after experiencing these demons' continuation of the race in the chaotic sea, he also had a deeper understanding. He no longer paid attention to Lord Fenjiun Lidian, but flew to those evil immortal kings. "Considering that you killed all the Nangong Nightmare clan in the southern fairyland in the end, and came here to help seal the passage to the demon realm, I will forgive you for what happened in the past. But if you use human beings to practice evil methods again in the future, don't say that I will be rude to you. Don't worry, my friend Zhu Xian. We are just blinded by greed and used by the Nangong Nightmare clan." These immortals also smiled bitterly. Nangong Tianli is the biggest evil fairy leader. It can be seen that the appearance of evil fairies shows that they are just being used. Zuyun nodded slightly and said, "In this case, then you can go back to the southern fairyland. As for who will become the new southern fairy emperor in the end, it is your own business." Does my friend Zhu Xian not want to sit on the throne of the fairy emperor? The evil fairies were also slightly stunned. They saw with their own eyes that Zuyun, when he was Luo Tian Xiangxian, held the Chaos Emperor chain in his hand and then killed the Nangong Shaidai in one fell swoop. Now he is even more like an immortal king. If he wants to be an immortal emperor, he will naturally be able to get 100 responses from them. At this level, they are naturally extremely submissive to Zuyun. In addition, Zuyun can command the dragon and phoenix tribes, which is also obvious. This is the divine beast of the immortal world. Of course, there are also reasons behind this that they don't know. Immortal Emperor. Zuyun shook his head and smiled, "Whoever wants to sit can sit." After that, he suddenly seemed to remember something and looked at the Lord of Wind, Cloud, and Thunder. "Does the Lord want to sit?" In an instant, a very wonderful look flashed in the eyes of the Lord of Wind, Cloud, and Thunder, but he finally shook his head. "The immortal world is so big, I wish to see you, my fellow immortals, the Dragon King, the Phoenix King, and my fellow evil immortals later." After that, he turned into a ray of lightning and suddenly disappeared from the spot. He, you still say you don't want to be an immortal emperor, why are you heading towards the southern immortal emperor realm? Sun Qiniang was frank, but everyone was silent. Because Zhu Yun's words were aggressive, if the Lord of Wind, Cloud, Thunder, and Lightning agreed, it would be as if the position of the immortal emperor was given to him by Zhu Yun. Lost face. Zhu Yun smiled and said, everyone has their own ambitions. It's not good for you to put these words on the surface. I, Sun Qiniang, have always been like this, Sun Qiniang said disdainfully, and then said, for example, I don't want to be the Queen of Phoenix. As soon as these words came out, the Phoenix King's expression tightened. Without the Queen of Phoenix, their Phoenix clan is incomplete. Just like the Dragon clan lost the Dragon transformation pool. But after saying that, Sun Qiniang turned to the Phoenix King and said, let's go, it's time to return to the ancestral land. Our clan's mission has been completed. If there is any change here, we will come again. After that, she turned around and waved her hand with her back to Zhu Yun, but she didn't wait for the Phoenix King, and went towards the direction of the central fairyland. The Phoenix King was stunned, then he bowed to everyone, and then led his clansmen to chase Sun Qiniang. The Dragon King and a group of evil immortals also said goodbye. This is the southern immortal realm, and they went back separately, which was also on the way. Soon, Zhu Yun and a group of demons from the Liulai immortal realm were left here. Meng Wei introduced Zhu Yun to the demons of the Holy Demon clan, and they naturally called him Zhu Xianxia. Demon Lord Shi, Demon Lord Yan. Zhu Yun called the demons of the two clans. I'm here. The two demons knew that Zhu Yun had something to tell them. In the Chaos Star Sea, all the demons have entered the Liulai immortal realm, but before that, I didn't communicate with them, which can be said to be a bit forced. So, you and the demons of the Holy Demon clan, after you arrive in the Liulai immortal realm, appease the demons. I obey. After they responded, Zhu Yun waved his hand and sent all the demons to the soul-devouring demon star. Next, they will settle the affairs in Liulai immortal realm, and I have more important things to do. Wei, 2 things. Only Meng Wei was left, and Zhu Yun also said straight to the point, first, there is something wrong with Qiniang. How did you know? Meng Wei was shocked, and thought that Sun Qiniang was possessed or used. Her personality has changed, Zhu Yun said with a deep face, Sun Qiniang is straightforward. She said she didn't want to be the Phoenix Queen, and she didn't want to be. But in the end, she still had to return to the Phoenix clan's ancestral land. Hearing this, Meng Wei also frowned. She also spent some time with Sun Qiniang. After thinking carefully, it was indeed the case. If she didn't want to do something, she would rather die than compromise. However, Qiniang seems to be inconvenient to tell, so I guess it may have something to do with Qiu Linjian. Zhu Yun once again made a surprising statement. Meng Wei was shocked, why do you have such a guess? Zhu Yun said, it's very simple. Qiniang was rescued by Lord Fenjiun Leiden. But the Lord said that he kept his promise. Naturally, it was Qiu Linjian who saved her. From this, it can be seen that Qiu Linjian was the one who saved her in all likelihood. Use Qiniang. Meng Wei expressed worry, but Qiniang won't just give in. Yes, Zhu Yun sighed and smiled bitterly, obviously, Qiu Linjian used some means to threaten her, and it has nothing to do with her life or death. Meng Wei stared at Zhu Yun and opened his mouth, but could not close it for a long time. There is no doubt that Qiu Linjian may have threatened Zhu Yun. Of course, Qiu Linjian may not know yet that Zhu Yun has broken through the Immortal Lord. Meng Wei said, under this situation, we need to go to the Chinese Immortal Realm as soon as possible. If King Feng goes back, he might take the initiative to tell what happened here. There is no need to worry about this, Zhu Yun showed a confident look and said, I have met Ye Yang, and the Dragon and Phoenix clans, are on my side. The same is true for the Phoenix King. So maybe Qiu Linjian, having guessed this, he treated Qingyang as a pawn inserted into the Feng clan. I see. Meng Wei took a deep breath and said, what about the second thing you want to say? The second thing is, of course, the Lord of Thunder and Lightning. Zhu Yun looked into the depths of the southern immortal realm and said, the Lord of Thunder and Wind has left the Chinese immortal realm. Will Qiu Linjian let go of an immortal lord so easily that he can be his thug? Meng Wei pondered, that's why you asked him if he had an appointment with Qiu Linjian, or if he wanted to come here on his own. Yes, Zhu Yun nodded, then smiled, however, this is not important. What is important is that Lord Fenjian Thunder and Lightning has obviously lost his role with Qiu Linjian. Instead of keeping the Lord by his side, it's better to let him go. Maybe, she has already reached the point where she wants to become the immortal emperor. Isn't it good for her to be in the southern immortal realm this time? I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1935. By the way, Zhu Yun, when Zhu Yun finished speaking, Meng Wei also remembered that he had a lot to say. Over there in the demon world, the Nightmare King has been killed by me. As far as I can see, the remaining Nightmare Demon's Demon Lord, the fight for the throne begins. Well done, Zhu Yun praised and said, how did you kill? Did you break through the demon world? Meng Wei smiled sweetly and said, how can I have such ability? Isn't it because of the magic sword? She stroked the blade gently and said, today's magic sword is extraordinary. Zhu Yun, if you still have enemies in this fairy world, I will fight side by side with you. It's natural. Zhu Yun held Meng Wei in his arms, and then said, it's just that although the passage to the demon world has been sealed, the crisis in the demon world is still there. It doesn't matter, Meng Wei raised his eyebrows and said, I entered the demon world through the magic knife. I finally know why the nightmare wants to launch a general attack and enter the fairy world. Why? Zhu Yun asked curiously. Because the demon world will be destroyed. Although I don't know why, there is obviously going to be a big problem. This is the intuition of my holy demon clan. She pointed to her temple. Zhu Yun naturally believed in Meng Wei very much, nodded and said, then let's wait here for a while. Wait? Aren't you going to the Chinese immortal realm? Meng Wei was stunned. I want to go, but not at this time. Calculating the time, it should be almost there. Meng Wei was surprised, who else are you waiting for? Zhu Yun chuckled and said, Purgatory Mountain. Where is this? Zhu Feng looked in front of him blankly, and then looked down at his hands. It completely turned into a devil's claw, and its hands were covered with thick black scales. But there is strange immortal power flowing in his body. And what shocked him even more? He is already in the immortal Lord realm. Is it chaos? It seems not. Zhu Feng put away his eyes and looked around, not knowing where he was. He only remembered the last scene, when he devoured the completely different leader of the nightmare. He scratched his head vigorously, but what he touched was still thick scales. I won't really become a demon, right? Zhu Feng suddenly couldn't laugh or cry. But unfortunately, he felt that he was a human being. Whether it's the majestic immortal power in his body or the power of laws that can be felt around him, this is proven. Perhaps I'm still half human and half demon, but with a demonic body and an immortal soul. Zhu Feng shook his head and said to himself. It feels a lot like chaos, but it's different from chaos. I'm looking around, but I don't know, whether those nightmares are gone, and whether brother is okay. Zhu Feng moved his body, but he was still in the tortoise shell. With the thought, the tortoise shell fell off his body. Then, he felt Wanjian Mountain and the Chaos Sword, and suddenly his heart moved, and he asked the Chaos Sword, is this chaos? The Chaos Sword flew out of his body and swayed left and right in front of him. No. The chaos sword swung back and forth, as if nodding. Could it be that I ended up in chaos inexplicably, just like I was in the secret realm of immortality at that time? It's just that this is not chaos. Zhu Feng smiled bitterly, held the chaos sword in his hand, and said, "Let's make peace with it now that we have come. Let's look around. Maybe we can find a place to leave." But as soon as he finished speaking, the tortoise shell floating beside him suddenly swelled with golden light, and then suddenly jumped out behind him. Huh! Zhu Feng was stunned for a moment, but he felt something keenly and quickly chased after him. This side of the world cannot tell the direction. But this tortoise shell was originally an immortal thing. It might be able to help him find a way out, but not necessarily. I don't know where I'm going anyway, so there's no harm in following along. Zhu Feng followed closely behind, but Guoqia's speed was getting faster and faster. Zhu Feng suddenly became a little anxious and frantically used the immortal power in his body without leaving any room. Only then could he maintain the same speed as Guoqia. Speed. Moreover, the tortoise shell glowed with golden light and stood out in the void. Even if it was far away, Zhu Feng would not lose it. At the same time, the junction of the southern immortal realm and the Chinese immortal realm. Sun Qinyang suddenly stopped. "Queen Huang, what do you have to say?" King Feng finally caught up. "There's nothing to say," Sun Qinyang said with a stern face. "You wait here for 3 days and then return to the ancestral land." "Why?" King Feng was stunned. "Humph," Sun Qinyang snorted softly and said calmly, "There is no reason, just wait if I ask you to wait. In addition, no one can say that they have seen me in the passage of the devil world. Otherwise, don't blame me for not being the empress." After that, she didn't give King Phoenix a chance to speak, transformed into the body of a fire phoenix, went straight through the wall of the immortal realm, and flew towards the Chinese immortal emperor realm. When she flew into the imperial realm, a fairy voice came from the imperial palace. Sun Qinyang's expression was shocked. She turned around and fell over there. She has no room for rejection. It was not until 3 days passed that Sun Qinyang flew out of the imperial palace and flew to their Feng clan's ancestral land. Feng Wang and others were also approaching the imperial realm. Almost at the same time, they entered the ancestral land one after another. But Sun Qinyang did not continue to communicate with King Feng or other clan members. She erected the phoenix tree and got into it herself. All the members of the Feng clan were confused, but King Feng had issued a silence order and no one would talk about this matter. At this time, Zuyun finally arrived at Purgatory Mountain. "Boy Zuyun, have you sealed this passage to the demon world?" Lin Zhenghong was also extremely shocked when he saw the demon world passage. "It's not me," Zuyun shook his head and said, "it's the Lord of Thunder and Lightning." "Him? Is there nothing to do after you're full?" Lin Zhenghong curled his lips. It seemed that a person like him would naturally know this kind of veteran immortal king, but Zuyun had not asked him what kind of person the wind, cloud, thunder, and lightning lord was. But apparently, that doesn't matter now. You have no idea how tragic it was at that time. Meng Wei smiled sweetly and said, "You can't even imagine that without the help of the evil immortals in the entire southern fairyland, I'm afraid you would have lost half your life if you came here at this time. The demon world, invaded." Lin Zhenghong glanced at Meng Wei and glared at Zuyun. Zuyun nodded and said, "The demon world has been planning for a long time, and it has been arranged in the Sea of Chaotic Stars for many years. Even their demon clan was almost destroyed." With a sigh, he looked at the formation immortal again and said, "Array immortal, do you have a way to replenish the seal of this passage?" The formation immortal had actually discovered the sealing cloud pupa formation here a long time ago, and even guessed a little bit when Zuyun and Lin Zhenghong were talking. "There is a way to suppress it for 1,000 years, but..." As Zuyun expected, the formation immortal looked at Lin Zhenghong. Obviously he needed Purgatory Mountain. "Watch what I do." Lin Zhenghong felt a hint of conspiracy. Zuyun wants to help, it depends on whether you can help or not. Lin Zhenghong was dissatisfied and said, I don't understand the formation, so I can't help you much. Zuyun laughed and said, Brother Lin, do you really not understand, or do you pretend not to understand? Purgatory Mountain is the foundation of my life. Without Purgatory Mountain, do you think I would dare to walk alone in the fairy world? Lin Zhenghong had indeed guessed it. He shook his head like a wave and drum and said, if the evil immortals suddenly rebel again in this immortal world, what can I do to deter them? No, no, Purgatory Mountain cannot be your enemy. Zuyun raised his eyebrows, and suddenly thought of a way to get the best of both worlds. If there is no danger of evil immortals in this immortal world, then can you hand over Purgatory Mountain to the Formation Immortals as the Formation Eyes? The Array Immortal said that it could only be suppressed for 1,000 years, which is completely enough. The demon world will be destroyed and cannot survive for 1,000 years.